You happy with that?
I thought we'd play that again this week, for the simple reason that by now everybody's probably watched Legends of the Sea Devils, and is probably just thinking, yeah, when is the Chris Chibnall era coming to an end, please? It was.
You're not impressed.
What can I say? What can I say? Look, I qualify that. I think Jodie Whittaker's great. She's just had poor scripts. But the Sea Devils, they're my favourite villains. I just think they were the first Doctor Who villains I really ever saw, and they scared the out of me. And how they realise them absolutely beautifully. They look so brilliant in that episode. It's everything I ever dreamed of, seeing the Sea Devils brought back with modern technology. But the story, oh, goodness me, it was just pirates at Time Lord Pirates of the Caribbean. It was just dreadful. Just.
Oh dear.
Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to tonight's Interesting Modelling Co show live. We got Drew back from his sick bed. So how are you, Drew?
Well, like I said to you, John, 3.8 Rentgen. Okay. Not great, not terrible. I'm getting a bit of an echo back from your.
Okay. I'll turn my volume down.
Yeah.
My echo cancellation on.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that's all right. That's fine. Not still far from fixed, shall we say? A lot better than I was this time last week. Last weekend was not something to be recommended, shall we say? Not something to be recommended. And the modelling time with that is, I'm fairly certain the only place I could have caught this was at the model show I went to the week before last. So yeah, I'm still testing positive. I've still got a cough and you can probably hear that I'm still sort of bunged up. So yeah, it's no joke, guys. It's no joke, and it's not to be recommended. I know some people get by with the sniffles or whatever. I was rather more seriously impacted by it. Enough that it was a scary couple of nights where I couldn't even lie down flat on my back because I couldn't breathe properly. If I did, I couldn't draw.
Weren't you also rather floored by your vaccines?
No, one of them. I had one day off work after one of the vaccines, but the other ones were pretty much a non-issue for me. Okay. I shudder to think how bad I might have been had I not been vaccinated. Put it that way. But yeah, it's not fun, guys. Not to be recommended. So do be careful. But I'm sure there are people out there. Clearly, there are people out there who've had it far worse than me. People are still dying. So it's
a shocking number of people are still dying. So
yes, a shocking number of people.
Skirt that really in terms of the you and I having the same feeling as to why that's happening. So
yeah.
Anyway,
yeah.
We'll move on from that. But
I need to. I mean, as it goes, I've had all of this week off work, and I need to phone up tomorrow morning to say, look, I'm still testing positive, and I'm still not feeling 100%. How does it work now with the way the rules have changed? So we'll find out. But yeah, do be careful, guys. It's not fun.
Well, it's good to have you back anyway. And
thank you. I mean, it's nice to be back. I must admit, I'm finding the screen is making me go a bit grainy-eyed, a bit gritty-eyed because I'm still very. So I'll be here, guys, but bear with me if I'm blinking a bit, and it's not because I'm bored. It's because my eyes are hurting because I'm still a little bit. But we'll be all right.
Yeah. Right. Well, we'll do some armor updates at the moment, and we'll also try and do a gallery. We'll try and do a gallery tonight because.
Well, I've finished. I don't know what the rest of you are playing at. I've finished.
I know. Well, all right. Let's not beat around the bush, shall we? Let's go to.
Lord.
Oh, for goodness sake! As always, I go to. Unbelievable. OBS has just completely stopped working on me again. There we go.
There you go.
Every week you start the show and then OBS decides to stop working. So, so where are we? We've got the wings on now. Hurrah! And I've cleaned up the I've cleaned up the spots where I managed to gouge the plastic. Seems I'm not alone in with this kit. A number of people have also had similar experiences of where they've tried to clip the bits off the sprue and they've ended up kind of gouging chunks off the nose and on the undersides, especially on the underside of the nose there. So some people are obviously very neat in their approach to cleaning up seams, and some people.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just one of those things where a very fine razor saw is the way forward. I think.
Well, I would have thought a pair of quality nippers like Despy nippers were the way forward, but
but if it doesn't work, you try something else, don't you?
Well, forewarned is forearmed. So yeah. I'm now on the home straight with this, which is just as well because I've taken my eye off the ball and I have been faffing around over the last few weeks. So we really do need to get a wiggle on because we've only got 6 days to get this done. So it's just as well we're at a stage now where he says reaching for his Despy nippers so he can repeat the same mistakes he did elsewhere. Well, I think, to be honest with you, part of the, I'm not going to say part of the problem, but one of the things you have to be careful with this kit is, as you can see, I'm going to try and zoom in. There we go. You can see how those sprue attachment points impede onto the surface of the plastic. There's a reason they've done that is because it's so that they can get in there and actually mold the fine details. So
they just be guaranteed that all the plastic's going to reach every corner of the mold, isn't it?
Exactly. Yeah. But what that does mean is then you have to be extra careful in cleaning up. So live on the internet, I'm going to show you how not to do it. Right?
I think the flip side of that is also the fact that this is not aimed at casual beginner players.
So what I am doing now to be extra careful is I'm actually cutting away from the sprue attachment point so that I'm less likely to do any gouging here. Yeah, I really do need a new pair of cutters because these are they're still beautiful, but they're not quite making clean cuts now.
Time for a new pair.
Well, I see that Froome have got some of those SBS ones in, so I might get SMS ones in, so I might get some of those. So now it's a case of going in there and just delicately taking the excess off there, like so. But you see what I mean? It's just they're not quite.
Yeah, they're not quite joining together along the entire edge, are they?
Yeah, I'm just having a look at them to see whether I need to adjust them or not. I was going to comment on this, actually. I noticed that mine, now, when I look at them kind of head on like that, can you see they're just slightly out of alignment?
Yeah.
So...
I mean, the thing is, it's an extremely high precision piece of equipment that gets used an awful lot.
Yeah.
It's not a consumable by any stretch of the imagination at that price. No. Also, it's not it's not going to last a lifetime either.
No, I've had close to 4 years of use out of these, which I think, in the scheme of things, is
about £7.50. So about £7.50 a year.
Yeah, exactly. Which I think is remarkable. So there we go. We've just taken those bits off of there, and it's now a case of actually I got not told off for this, but there we go. We can now go full screen. So people who watch this on their phones say that they can't see what we're doing sometimes. So we will go to full screen. So it's now just a case of very carefully dealing with those sprue attachment points. Very carefully.
See, I would use that's the blade I use these days for that sort of work.
Very mind can't see you, Drew.
No, I know. I don't use a straight blade for that. Put it that way.
Okay.
Asking for I found it's asking for trouble if you slip, whereas a curved blade
Okay, that's interesting.
is much better. So I use one of my curved blades for all this sort of work now.
Okay. I don't know where my Swan Morton craft knife is for that, but I'm just very, very carefully. In fact, do you know what? I think this is getting to the stage where actually
Stop there.
Why is that?
No, I'm just looking at you going. It looks to me like the blade's already starting to wander into the plastic.
Do you know what? I was just gonna say, I actually think that blade is now past its best.
Yeah,
I can just feel it starting to. Oh, hang about. Bear with me a second whilst I go to this, because coming live from Shropshire, it's the quiz of the week. Somebody who said, I'm not joining you tonight because I'm watching the football, has decided that he's had enough of the football and he's going to come and join us tonight.
Evening. Yeah, John, this is the kind of I use one of those blades now.
Oh yeah, I got some of them.
It's just because for doing that sort of thing, if I just use any old part, you can really, really finely work on stuff, and it doesn't drift off actually into the component at any point. So
what number is that?
That's a number 15, I think. I use a 10 and a 15. I use an awful lot, those two.
Right, let me just have a quick look here. See what I've got. Oh God, no, that's a
oh, good Lord, no.
Good Lord, no. That's a 27.
All right.
All right.
10A.
How's it going?
Yeah, well, you know, I'm here. Put it that way.
Oh, are you feeling better or still feeling slightly?
Well, as the joke's gone, I'm feeling about 3.8 Röntgen at the moment, so not great, not terrible.
Okay.
Far from fixed, but I mean, certainly a hell of a lot better than I was this time last week. Put it that way.
If it's any consolation, the beard is looking way more impressive than it did the last time I spoke to you.
Really? Oh, thank you very much.
Yes, I think it's developed. That's quite extraordinary.
It's quite extraordinary. Yeah, I'm thinking of keeping it going until I get to Bloodstock this year, and then dyeing it pink for Bloodstock.
Oh, you really should do that. That would be amazing.
Do the whole thing, pink or purple for Bloodstock, I think.
Yes, absolutely. Especially if
I
it's
wouldn't need to bleach it first, will I? Let's be honest.
No. To be fair, do any of us need to bleach anything at the moment?
No,
we just put up with the fact that our hair is not.
Yeah, but put up with the fact that our 40s are in the rearview mirror.
Yes, indeed. Oh, yes, of course. The man above us. Yes, I have to say as well.
So
I've got to say that the hat that you bought yesterday, magnificent. The whatever that was, the appalling.
It's not appalling.
Did you buy a smoking jacket?
Smoking jacket. I was fuming at the time. It's not. It's just a silk Oriental dressing gown, right? It's. I don't know why you think it's a smoking. It's not a smoking jacket. It's a silk Oriental dressing gown. Let me just.
It's like a pseudo silk kimono, isn't it?
It is a pseudo silk kimono.
Yes.
Hang about. We will let.
Is that what it is? Wearing bracelets of smoke? Is that?
Yeah, we haven't even got onto the
naked of understanding.
We haven't even got naked of understanding. See, I was genuinely naked of understanding when I saw it.
Right.
You know that meme with that bloke going?
What is wrong with that? It's beautiful.
Almost, where do you start?
It's beautiful. It is a thing. As soon as I saw that in the Children's Hospice Southwest charity shop in Wellington, I looked at it and I just thought. She said,
Yeah,
the lady in the shop.
Andy King's right. You need a bass guitar and a bit of a bare chest, and to be playing 2112 or something.
Yeah. The lady in the charity shop said, "We've only just put it on the dummy," and I said, "Well, don't worry. We're just about to put it on another one now." And
boom, boom.
And do you know what? I absolutely rock it. There we go. So
yeah.
Just jealous.
Yeah, I mean,
I don't think.
As much as I genuinely don't like it, and I can't imagine that I would ever think that that was a clever idea. There is a big part of me that thinks that you will rock it like nobody else, and I'm not sure what that says about me, and I'm certainly not sure what that says about you.
I don't
Style,
think you.
mate, it
I
never
don't,
goes.
I don't think rocket means what you guys think it means.
Class will always show through. That's all I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to Ghost Stories tonight because I'm wearing that bad boy, and it's going to be awesome.
Please tell me you're never going to wear it during a live broadcast where the two of us are on.
Very, very tempted tonight. That close to it.
And also, Drew, please tell me you're never going to buy one of those.
What do you think the chances are, Spence?
I am refusing to get fashion tips.
I want a tweed jacket. I want a really good.
That would be fine though.
I am refusing
to
take fashion tips from a bloke who's going to dye his beard pink. So absolutely,
I'm going to dye my beard pink and get a tweed jacket for Bloodstock.
Yeah, that's fine. That's that kind of.
What I'm not going to get for Bloodstock is a smoking jacket.
Trust me, it would. I'm on the hunt now for a cravat and one of those little hats as well. But apart from that,
he's going for his Jacob Rees-Mogg look.
No, God, no. I'm not. No, goodness me, no.
Yeah.
No.
He's buying into it.
I don't like the uniforms of the Wehrmacht, so
He's buying into it.
Well, I had a rehearsal with a new band on Wednesday, Thursday last week, and I'm now thinking of buying a bucket hat. So I perhaps shouldn't be saying anything to anybody about their sartorial choices, but I do think a bucket hat would look good.
What's a bucket hat?
Even better, mate.
They're one of those, they're sort of they're flat at the top and they kind of come down and peek out.
All right.
If you've ever watched the drummer from Stone Roses play, he always wears a bucket hat.
Oh, yeah. I know.
That kind of thing that the lads from
it's very much a Manchester look, isn't it?
That's exactly that, yeah. And flared jeans and a baggy white t-shirt. How's that not a cool look?
Let me hang the ways, but you're happy.
Indeed. And part of me though, it's the reason for it is though that I'm deeply jealous that I'll never be able to grow that beard, because this is 10 days of growth.
See, I kind of think I have to have other people telling me that my beard looks magnificent, because every time I look in a mirror, I just think it's a bit reedy and stringy, isn't it? It's not much of a beard.
No.
And then other people go, bloody hell, your beard's magnificent. And it's like, really? Well, thank you very much.
It really is good. Changing the subject onto model making, because
you're new here, aren't you?
sort of why we're here. How's your week been, you two? I haven't really caught up with you over the last sort of week or so. Drew, I've been obviously very concerned about your COVID escapades, and you didn't seem very well. So I'm glad you're on the mend. John, I've sort of kept up with you, and obviously you've been eating a lot of cake, and that's just great. There we go. Can I sort of show you what I've been working on over the last 2 days?
Yeah, of course you can. Yeah. Go for it.
I've been working on big sabers.
Yeah, I saw a post of yours.
Big sabers. The one I've been working on today has been this one, as you can see with.
Is that which kit's that?
This is This is Kinetic's kit,
Right.
which is they did a couple, didn't they? They did one with 6.3 wings, hardened 6.3 wings, and they did another version with slatted 6.3 wings. But also they give you the wing tips for the F40 variant with the extended tips. But what I've decided to do with these, I've got 3 of these in the loft. One of which is slightly incomplete. I can't seem to find everything for it, but it allows me to build 2 versions. So what I thought I would do is build a Korean War aircraft from one of the kits and do one with the hardened 6.3 wing, and then build a Mark 6, a Canadian Air Force Mark 6 with slatted wings. I sort of half thought about doing a Japanese one with the extended tips, but in the end, I've gone for one of these.
Yeah, that's see, I always like the Canadian Sabres. The German,
they're lovely, aren't they?
Beautiful.
Yeah, and I kind of like the camouflage on that. I'm slightly at the moment. I'm not entirely sure which Korean War one I'm going to do, because they're I mean, obviously they're sort of like natural metal, and they've got the yellow and black stripes on them. And
I mean, there's a host of possibilities, isn't there?
Well, it's kind of millions. The decals. Actually,
I mean, I'm a big fan of the most popular ones. You know, the Huff and Migmad Marine and stuff like that. I continually circle back to my argument about why those things are included in every kit. It's because they're really, really good schemes.
Yes, indeed.
So if somebody did either the Huff or Migmad Marine, I would be all about that, because I just think it's about how good the scheme is, not how common the scheme is.
Yeah,
you know.
I think I've sort of come to like that. There are 3 choices. Mike's Bird is one of them, which is really famous, isn't it? The Huff is another one. Beauteous Butch is one of the ones that do, which is kind of a bit plainer. It's just got the lettering on, and then it's got that kind of worn blue scallop that goes around the intake. And then there's another one, which is, if I just grab it, which I like, which is from the kit, which is this Miss Tepper, which is this one here, that one there.
Right. Oh, that's
which has got a really nice kind of the tail's really nice on that.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure at the moment. It's almost like, do you do one of the aces and just go for that, or do you just or you pick something that's colourful? I don't really know, to be honest. But one of the things that I've sort of found over the last couple of days is, with every Sabre that you ever build, it doesn't matter which kit you build, it's trying to work out whether or not the one that's in the kit is actually accurate compared to the decal options, whether it's got the right wings for a start, whether or not it's got slats, whether or not it hasn't.
Up until a couple of months ago, I thought the only 6.3 slatted Sabre was the Canadian Mark 6.
Yeah.
And people have gone, no. And it's like, I did some research and went, oh, right, I thought a slatted wing was by definition a normal wing, unless it was a Canadian Mark 6, in which case it was a 6.3. I thought all 6.3 wings outside of that were hard wings.
No.
And it just goes to show that you just don't, it's just, there's no, and that kind of threw my entire belief system in Sabre wings back straight into the melting pot to you know, it kind of sent me away to think again.
I was reading today about Beauteous Butch. Beauteous Butch apparently was originally supplied as a slatted wing Sabre, and they refitted it with 6.3 hardened wings, which just makes it so complicated. You're like,
and an awful lot of the RAF Sabres were the same.
Yes,
they were delivered with slatted wings.
It's almost like pick a photograph and copy the photograph. If it's got wing fences, it's a hardened wing. You're fine. Just do that kind of thing. But it is really difficult to work out how you're going to kind of go about doing that. And then you have other things that get thrown in the mix, don't you, with Sabres? Cockpit colours is another one. RAF cockpits were black. American cockpits were supposed to be green or interior green. Canadian Mark VI cockpits were pale grey. So you have all sorts of other little things that get thrown in there.
And check out your cooling intakes and stuff on a Mark VI, because they were pretty much unique to the Mark VI.
Indeed.
So you need to. I mean, a Sabre is just endlessly fascinating as an aeroplane, isn't it? It's just, it's such a beautiful. To think they went from the Mustang to that, and they just managed to get it as perfect as the Mustang was.
Yeah,
in terms of its, in terms of its appearance.
I think I sort of, one of those fits of just putting out there your opinion and just hoping it kind of sticks, really. One of the things that I said was I genuinely believe in terms of post-war aircraft, so that's sort of like 50s and early 60s aircraft, that sort of period. I genuinely think the Sabre is the most beautiful aircraft that's ever flown. Genuinely. I mean, we talk about the Hunter, but I think the Sabre is a much prettier aircraft.
I would take the Sabre over the Hunter any day.
I would.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. I think the Hunter's nice, but so and alongside the 32nd scale one, John will be very pleased that I'm going about doing this at the moment. Was this
little Matchbox A?
Yeah, the little Matchbox kit that I got, and I bought this, and I blame you two, because you two should have stuck by me when I bought this, because I bought it when I was walking around at the Avon show with both of you. I bought this kit, and I sort of tipped it on my desk, thinking, "Oh, I'll glue that together and everything," and it was glued together. Wings, fuselage. That's kind of
at least the cement set. At least the cement set.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Everything else sort of seems to be in the kit, and then what happened was, when I tipped the box out, I only had one tailplane, but then I went into the box that it was stored in and found the other one. So currently I have a complete F-86A. Now, bearing in mind that this is the Matchbox kit, and I'm not entirely sure that the accuracy is something that we can really bestow on this too much.
I will say the F-86A, the tail fairing on that for the non-flying tail looks excellent from here.
Gary Park, he rates it quite highly in one of the Airfix magazine articles from the 70s. He actually said it is actually a very accurate kit. So
really,
yeah.
Well, what I'm going to do with this thing is that I've actually bought a set of microscale decals for it, which I'm trying to find. I may well sort of, they're around here somewhere, and I'm actually going to build it as an A. I'm going to try and do the whole thing. So I was sort of looking at it today and thinking, what do I do with this thing? I can't break it apart. So the cockpit is sort of where it is and everything. So I wondered whether or not I could do a little bit of kind of like, kind of microsurgery inside it and that kind of thing. So I'm going to sand this thing down, get it all smooth, get it all together and everything. And then I'm going to try and cut away this little hump here. And I was about to maybe
suggest something very similar to that.
Yeah, if I cut that away and glue it onto the back of the canopy, and then sand all the canopy, I can maybe have the canopy open and just do that, re-rivet it, and then give it a nice little paint job with those microscale decals, which are really nice. But it is really neat. You can kind of
yeah.
I'm surprised it's not been reissued by Revell or whoever whoever owns the tooling. It's not been nearly 40 years. I think the last time it was out was about early 80s, and that's it.
Did Revell not issue it at all? Was it always under a Matchbox label?
It's gone. Gone. No, it's one of those. It's the F-86A is one of those subtypes that I really would like Models Fit to have a little look at some point. It seems to me it'd be right up their particular strata, so to speak, in terms of subject matter. I would really like somebody like them to look at the F-86A and 48 scale, because it'd be such a great model to go in a collection of Sabres, wouldn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Is it very
And there's
different?
so many,
from
and
the
there's so
later
many
one?
unique things about it about the A model that it's difficult. It's certainly not impossible to modify another variant to it, but it is more of a challenge than you'd think, with all the tail differences that need to be, with all the tail fairing differences that need to be made and stuff.
Is that where is that where it's different then around the back end? Because
Yeah,
certainly
if you look
around
at the tail of the F86A, the F86A did not have an all-flying tailplane. It had a fixed tailplane with elevators on it, and so you've got a really small fairing where the tailplane attaches to. You can see quite clearly on that. It kind of fades away immediately in front of the tailplane. Whereas if you look at an F86 like E or F with the all-flying tail, you've got a really big fairing.
Yeah.
And
if you look at it,
you see that big fairing that.
There you go.
So you can see how different it is around the
it is very different, isn't it?
We've got Gordon Sorensen says my father flew the Sabre for the Royal Canadian Air Force in West Germany in the 1950s. He always said it was the best flying aircraft he ever flew. And Gordon also says that he's got a Matchbox F86A in his stash, going to do it as the first Canadian Sabre Mark 1. So,
all right.
Yeah. No, the other thing about the F86A was it had a V-shaped windscreen as well.
Yes.
It's very different, isn't it?
Although later on, certainly when it was passed back to Air National Guard squadrons and stuff like that, I think a lot of them were retrofitted with a standard windscreen. I always like the box art for that. I love that.
Yeah, I've just grabbed it, Drew, so that we can kind of see it.
A Sabre with actual Korean War stripes is a pretty thing.
Yeah,
is a really pretty thing.
The story about this kit as well is that one of the reasons why I wanted to buy this, when I think we were, I definitely think it was the Avon show. I bought this. I've only ever owned this kit once before, and I bought it in Darlington in County Durham. And they got it on sale there, and I bought it. And I remember buying a tin of silver paint to go with it. So it would have been whatever Humbrol, is it 11? I think the silver. No, actually, I tell you, it wasn't the Humbrol one. It was an Airfix tin of silver paint. G8. Only to get it home and discover that it wasn't silver paint. I'd actually bought a tin of gloss varnish, which had the silver kind of lid on it. And I was kind of like a kid and everything. I sort of got it home. But I remember building this and building it as it is. So grey and with the blue parts. And this is how it was originally molded, isn't it? In the grey and the blue.
Yeah, grey and blue.
So I thought when I bought it and I sort of planned that this upcoming project, that I would try and build this and see if I could make something out of it. So I went online over the last couple of days and to see if there was any photographs and any sort of projects that other people had done and whether they built this kit. And there's some really nice builds of this Matchbox kit online. Really, really nice stuff. So I think the possibilities from this, if I was to give it a nice little finish, don't do anything clever with it, and put some nice decals on, I think it'll look okay.
Yeah, look a neat little model. It's like I say, it's one of those incredibly simple, neat little Airfix jobs, isn't it?
Matchbox. Yes, it is. Yeah,
sorry.
I really like it, and I think it's the sort of kit that I'm sure that that our friend who does all the Matchbox does all the Airfix kits,
Mike Grant.
Grant, I would imagine he could have an absolute field day with this thing. So yeah, it's kind of cool. We'll see. See what happens over the next couple of days. Yeah. It's a Saber. Yeah.
Modeling content time here at the moment is I've just been looking at the tailplane for this Mustang, and I don't know what I've done here or anybody else has come across this, but perhaps Daisy. On the, I've ended up with like a step and something there. Is that me?
Yes.
Don't know what I've done there.
Have you?
I haven't done. I've not done any sanding there at all, and I've not done anything there. It's just I've just popped that in place there, and I've ended up with that. You see a little bit of a step there, and obviously once the fin and the rudder goes on, but honestly, there's nothing happened there at all. There's no sanding. I've sanded this, but I haven't touched that there yet, and obviously that goes on there. So I don't know what's.
I'd assumed you were doing the one with the fillet.
No, this one doesn't have the fillet. I know I was showing you. I know I just clipped the fillet one off, but that's that. I don't need that for this one.
I've got no idea what's happened there. I know that mine didn't.
John, I'm looking at mine here on the. I've got mine in front of me, and you seem to have like a V-shaped cutout in front of where the tailplane sits. That's
exactly
not
it.
on mine at all.
Yeah, but that's I haven't done anything. That's actually molded in the kit.
Can I show you the way the fuselage looks on this? If you go back to the
Of course
camera.
you can. Yep, go on.
Oh, it's really.
So your signal's very poor tonight. It looks like you're broadcasting from kind of like 1973.
Here, look.
No, we can't see it, Spence. It's your signal so bad.
You two have just dropped out. Where have you gone?
No, I've just done you single solo thing. That's why.
Here, look.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't have anything like that on mine. I know there's an area inside you have to trim. I think if you're doing the one with the fillet.
There, look.
Yeah,
that's not on yours, John. Where's yours gone?
I'm just having a look. I'm just having a look at the fuselage here. There's nothing I've got to add to the fuselage.
It's almost like a piece has been cut away. I
haven't done anything on it. I literally have not done anything on it. I've not touched it. All I've done is I've sanded that. The fuselage seam down. But beyond that, that is absolutely. I've done nothing there at all. Not a sausage. So bizarre. I mean, it's not a problem. I'll just fill that, and that's that's it. But no, it's something's happened there, and I've ended up with a thing. But I have not done any work on that at all whatsoever. Dun dun dun.
No idea. I didn't have that problem with mine anyway.
No, bizarre. Okay, Spencer's just snipping his out, but
I am. I'm just clipping mine out and see if the tailplane fits.
Let us know when you're going to do that, Drew. We'll mute your microphone.
Unfortunately, you don't have any warning of when it's going to happen.
Yeah, it's not a problem. I'll just drop some super glue in there and fill it. But I was looking at it just now and thinking, I'll fill it the fillet. And I thought, well, that doesn't. What's going on there? And anyway, a little modelling mystery there for you folks. If you've experienced the same, let us know. If not, it's me, isn't it?
So I can't really partake in progress on Armour April because I've finished. Sorry.
John,
you're gonna, go on, say it. You're going to say, I finished my Armour April and I had COVID. And it's just like, that's all it expense. Yeah, has yours got a bit of a step there?
No. Fits perfect.
Bizarre. Okay. Yeah. Okay.
Have you trimmed something away?
No, I haven't. I honestly have not done any trimming at all. Not a sausage. Not a Robbie sausage. So.
Yeah, because the tailplane and the fillet around it just sits inside the fuselage.
Yeah.
I was curious to see how. I was curious to see. Let's just go back to the workshop camera. I was curious to see how the filleted version were going because I just cleaned that one up just to show the just to show that for the show tonight. I was curious to see how that would fit in. I couldn't even get that to fit in at all. Just wouldn't go at all.
Because you have to trim the inside of the fuselage for it to fit.
Right. But I haven't done anything. You know, I wasn't going to do that. But
there is an area.
Bizarre. Like I say, it's not a problem. I should just fill it. Oops, I should just put a bit of super glue in there and sand it to, match it to shape anyway. But
oh yeah, you have to remove a section, don't you, inside that fuselage, fuselage on either side.
Yeah.
That is really strange that you've got that dip in there, though.
Well, hang about. You're saying it says remove a section of the fuselage.
Yeah, there's a little. It creates like a hole in the top of the fuselage.
I'm just having a look. I'm just having a look at the instructions here. My instructions have got nothing on it that say do anything to the fuselage.
No, because I don't think either of yours have got a fillet, have they?
No, it comes with both.
No, but I don't think any of the options in your kit have the fillet, do they?
But the instructions, instructions do show. Yeah, they do.
Oh yeah.
Hang about. Yep. The fillet. It's the only one. It's the only one in the kit that's got the fillet, but there's nothing here. Nothing here that says remove anything from the fuselage to fit the filleted version in. So, okay. You
can certainly, if you look at the way it is, if you look at this.
Yeah, you can quite.
Yeah, no, I've seen that, but I'm just looking to see whether there's anything on the instructions telling you to trim bits away. I got it. No, I'm there now. There we go. Think about. There it is.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. I apologise, but I haven't done that. I haven't done anything on that at all.
That's strange.
But I'd whistle the X-Files music if we didn't get a copyright strike notice for it. So,
what's strange about that though is that it looks like that dip is on both fuselage halves, kind of equally.
It is. It's molded. It's not me. It's molded.
Yeah, weird.
Yeah, there is absolutely no modeller's knife has gone anywhere near that. In fact, I might even go back through and look at some of my other photographs just to see. Anyway, that was exciting, isn't it? Genuine.
Dum dum dum.
We're actually starting to go like this. This is starting to merge between this show and Sunday Night Ghost Stories. It's just a genuinely supernatural experience. So what's going on? But that tail plane, I've just dropped that tail plane in place, and that's just clicked in perfectly. That's absolutely nothing of any consequence there whatsoever. So, and it's level as well. He says, looking at it, yeah, it's level. It is now.
That surface detail on this is unreal, isn't it?
Oh God, yeah. It's absolutely phenomenal. So yeah, that's good now. So yeah, so we will be I'm going to let that tail plane dry off overnight, and then I'm going to put some super glue in that mysterious chasm that has appeared, and then drop that in. I did notice on a dry fit that the rudder is a little bit tricky to fit in place, so I'm just going to work out what's causing the issue there. I get the feeling it's probably that large tab at the back just interferes with the fit a bit. I think it's probably.
Yeah, I had to do a little bit of work on mine.
I think that tab. I'm just going to go at it with me despise. I think that tab is probably a little bit too broad, and it pushes the rudder away from the fuselage. So if I just go in there, because it can withstand a little bit of material being removed. So where's my fresh scalpel blade? Oh, for goodness sake!
Oh, perils again. He's lost his scalpel. Sorry? Nothing.
I know. That's what got me thrown out of the hospital. There we go. Right, there we go. I've just removed a little bit of material from the inside there. So with a bit of luck, there we go. Fits
That's
perfectly. But the only thing is, there is a little bit. I noticed this on other people's builds. There's a little bit of shrinkage in there. I'll have a look at that. I'm tempted to pass that off as just plating.
Is that on the tail plane part, is it, or on the fuselage?
What's that?
That shrinkage.
That's shrunk.
That's between the fuselage. That's actually on the fuselage. That's actually on the rear of the fuselage.
I think I've got away with that because there isn't any on mine.
Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
I'm not going to worry about it.
It is magnificent, though, this kit.
Yeah, oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
There we go. That's fine. No,
And also, it's one of those kits you can talk about how great it is till the cows come home. People really need to sit down and play with it to fully appreciate, the sheer level of finesse in the whole product is just mind-boggling, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
So to be honest with you, all I've got to do now, he said, all I've got to do now is deal with the flaps, clean up the undercarriage parts, drop the intakes in for the radiator and the nose. I'm not going to bother fitting the drop tanks because I was looking at the photographs of the captured Japanese one, and I don't think it was fitted for when they had it, and that's it. We're let's paint the thing.
Let's get some paint on.
Get some paint on it.
Throw some paint on there.
John Connolly says, "Is the P51 the kit of 2022?" I say it's one of the ones. Yeah, absolutely.
It's going to be. It's certainly going to be in the final listings, even if it's not number one. And
Paul Milligan says you're going to need a mix of talc and super glue, JM. Too soon. After last week's, and the Plastic Posse guys have arrived. Hello, chaps. Hello, chaps.
Evening, Plastic Posse.
I'm just having a quick look through some of the comments and things and whatever. What we'll do is next Sunday we will do the run through of the Armour April, because I tell you what, gents, we have had a phenomenal response to this. So many people joining in. It's been terrific to see.
Yeah, I've noticed a lot. Looking on. Look, it's been popping up in my feed an awful lot on my Facebook feed. Stuff going on in the Interesting Modelling Company. So the page in its own right seems to be getting busier and busier, which is all to the good.
The only person that hasn't yet got involved in this is.
Yeah, well, you've been doing other things. And anyway, you to be honest with you, Spence, you are by proxy going to be involved in Matchbox May. So there we go.
So yeah, I mean, I finished Armour April so long ago. I've actually got this far on a 48 scale 0.
How's it going, Drew? Is it good?
It's absolutely beautiful. It really is. That said, I'm going to say this. There's a reason that Tamiya are Tamiya and everybody else is everybody else, and this kit proves it. It's almost perfect. But there's some little things that go on with other people's kits that kind of throw Tamiya's engineering into sharp relief. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's like the instrument panel on this locates very flimsily between the cockpit sidewalls. And the idea is that you build the cockpit sidewalls with the interior, and then it all goes into the fuselage. Whereas I like to add the cockpit sidewalls before I join the fuselage, and it leaves you almost no way at all to mount the instrument panel if you do it that way. So the instrument panel on this is still floating loose, and I've got to reinforce. I've got to add some things in behind here so that I can mount the instrument panel to it. And that would simply never happen with Tamiya.
No.
You know what I mean? It just wouldn't happen. That would be covered. And the other thing is, whilst the fit is almost perfect, let's let it focus. There's a little bit of a step along the wing route here, and nothing you seem to do in terms of, I spent about an hour sort of checking, trimming, and trying to sort that out. And you still end up with this tiny little step. It's almost nothing.
But it's enough to throw.
But it's there.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, you've got things like all this upper decking and stuff is separate and glued in place, and you absolutely, if it wasn't for the glue marks, you absolutely wouldn't be able to tell. And the cowling comes with a fixture to build the cowling up from separate panels, and you end up with this little assembly here for the cowling. And it just builds up around this fixture absolutely perfectly. So there's like little engineering things that are just fantastic on it, and other little engineering things that aren't quite Tamiya. So I mean, overall, it certainly wouldn't stop me building more of them. And then sort of like that will hopefully, with the engine in place, that will then go on there, like so. But
I assume the fit is flawless on it.
It's just absolutely, I mean, the tail planes aren't even glued in place yet, so you can see that, a bead of glue down that, and we're good to, and there's the wing join there, so.
So that just creates almost a panel line, does it?
Yes. Yeah, you've got to deal. I mean, obviously, you'll have to deal with the seam line down the fuselage. But the other thing about the way the engine cowling builds up is it means you've got all this stuff here. Like you've got because of the way it builds up, you end up with like a fully formed intake there. Look.
Yeah, nice.
And then when that cowling goes on, it also goes in to create that fully formed intake there, look.
Yeah.
With all the ducting and stuff, and the wheel bays are very, very simple, but very, very complicated. They're simple to build and look very, very complete when they're done.
How's the engine when that goes together? I'm assuming there's quite a lot of parts for
that. That's 4 parts.
Wow.
That's 4 parts, and onto that goes kind of a collector ring and the magneto housing, like so.
And that's it. That looks really complex.
And that's it. I mean, you could add ignition wiring and all that sort of stuff, but realistically,
I'm assuming as well, though, that Edward will be offering that as a brass-in part, so that
they already. I think it's already out. I think it's already out. Then that will drop over, like so, and it all goes into place.
Yeah, that looks really.
Realistically,
really
with the prop and stuff on there, you're not going to see anything more, are you? So,
no.
You can focus on the paint scheme. But the way that cowling is there's 4 parts, 5 parts there, and all that's had done to it is a quick swipe over with Scotch-Brite after it was built,
and that was it.
It looks like one part, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. It really does. Yeah.
But you can see all the joins and stuff inside. But it's stuff like that fixture is just that's the kind of thing I want to see more of from people like Edward. Stuff like that. Airfix do it, don't they?
They do. Yeah, they do. Yeah.
Done it. And it's those little engineering tweaks that I would like to see more.
I assume that by now that you've settled on a mix for the paint, and you've also settled on a scheme, have you?
Do you know what? I'd like to have settled on a mix for the paint. I've gone with my favourite mix so far. Is basically from Real Colours Lightened. AK Real Colour Lightened.
Yeah.
Is my favourite sort of caramel sort of colour, if you like. And I think I'm trying to think. Yeah, it was just this is the one I decided on, which is on Rabal in 1942. I like the one blue stripe.
Yeah.
But I definitely wanted to do a sort of overall, caramel grey, honey grey sort of colour, because I think it's a really attractive colour.
It's also good for showing off weathering as well, quite frankly.
Yeah, and that's because, as we discussed, I want to force a few finishes like I managed to do with the Wildcat quite nicely, I think. And I want to do the same on this Zero, is spend some time, because nearly everything on here I will be making masks for and spraying. There's very little here that is going to be from the decals.
Yeah.
So, I mean, all these stripes, all the Hinamarus, this number here is big enough that I can, easily mask and spray that. So what you're looking at is like the constructors panel and some of the stencil data around it, and nearly everything else will be masked and sprayed, which will give you an opportunity to work on the weathering and stuff.
Talking
look great when it's done.
Forcing finishes, you mentioned your Wildcat, and this is your Armour 72nd scale F4.
Yes, yeah.
So talk us through what you did on that particular thing.
I mean, basically, it was given a opaque coats of paint to start with, which is, I always like to start from an opaque base coat of the actual color, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
By which I mean I don't black base. If I applied a black primer, it would be a black primer, and then I'd paint an opaque color over the top of it before I went any further. So I started off by giving like the undersides a coat of light gold grey, and then it had a kind of misted patterns of light and dark greys over it, and exactly the same thing was done with the top sides. And then I went back with kind of a darkened mix of the base color with the fine art, is it splatter masks?
Yeah.
I went over the airframe with that, and then I went back with the base coat again, highly thinned, and just blended it all back a little bit, but not as far as I normally would, which I hope you can see on that. It's actually far more variegated finish than I'd normally do. Under normal circumstances, I would have masked and sprayed those panels you can see in the ailerons that are slightly different shades. Under normal circumstances, I would have masked and sprayed those, but this time I decided to, later on in the build, most of the national insignia and all the national insignia there are masked and sprayed as well. I made masks on my silhouette cutter. But later on in the build, after I'd applied the matte varnish, or the satin varnish as it was, I used oil paints and the filberts to touch those panels in and blend the blend light and dark oil paint mixes, which you can see in that picture there, and blend them back on individual panels to get that effect there, which I really, really like. Probably quicker than masking and spraying. It was just as accurate, and it allows you to keep blending back until you get the finish you want. And then once that had dried, the rest of it was weathered with various assorted different mixes of oils and stuff. And that's what we're left with, which I hope you can see in the photograph. It's a little bit more variegated in the overall finish than I normally would achieve. But I think it came out very nicely. I really like it.
Yeah.
So I don't know what other people are saying in the comments. I think
you got to go for it sometimes. I think we can all get stuck in the not the rut, but we can all get stuck into our own particular way of doing things. And I think that sometimes you just got to go out on a limb and just go, I'm going to try it. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work.
Like the discussion we had the other week about me forcing a few finishes, I could possibly have forced that even more, because whilst it looks more forced than my normal finish would be, it still looks okay in the flesh as well. It doesn't look hugely exaggerated in the flesh. So I've kind of managed to straddle that line quite nicely, in my opinion. The one thing I haven't done in this instance is there's no chipping on it, because I struggle with chipping immensely, and it never looks good to me. So I kind of there's no chipping on that, I may go back and do some at some point. But I just kind of, I would rather not have any chipping on than mess it up.
Mm-hmm.
If that makes sense. So, but the overall finish, I'm very pleased with the way the overall finish came out. VMS satins, and you can certainly see the way that the finish has been forced on the underside there, I hope. So yeah, but I'll be certainly experimenting with using the oils more for, you know, highlighting panels and stuff going forward. Jim Alter there says, "Is there no red or blue border on national insignias?" Jim, no, there isn't, and that's what drew me to the colour scheme. Actually, specifically, was the fact that there were no borders. It looks like, you know, almost it looks like a field mod to the original markings, where they've just literally masked and sprayed some bars onto the original, you know, markings that had
the roundels. Yeah,
yeah, and that was one of the things that drew me to the scheme, was the fact there was no surround. So no, there isn't. But yeah, I really, I mean, it's a fabulous little model, and I think the finish worked sort of 90% what I was aiming for, shall we say?
Mm-hmm.
So
no, I think it looks terrific. I think
it's really nice.
Yeah, I think sometimes there is a certain kind of beauty to single color finishes where you do have to kind of go in there and really kind of make it interesting. You know, make it look.
Yeah, but
like
without,
telling
you
a
know,
story.
I want to make it look interesting without wanting to make it look like a quilt, or
yes,
like
exactly,
or like it being dragged through a hedge backwards. So you know, I think I sort of mainly succeeded in what I was aiming for. Yeah, I'm really pleased with it. I'm really pleased with it. I'm happy. Somebody did ask what the aerial wire I used was. It's Ushi fine rigging. So that's that was what I did, and then I went straight on to the Zero, which means I've now got two rather large 48 scale. The Super Hornet was obviously on hiatus while I built the Armour April, so that's still waiting to carry on. So I've got two 48 scale kits on the bench at the moment. So
we're just going to go to my cam a minute, because I'm just going to show you this. This is awesome. This is what I like about this Armour Mustang. So we've got the flap section here. Now, if you have a look on the flap section, there are attachment points that do go right into the right onto the leading edge of those flaps. Problematical, eh? Well, watch.
no,
what I'm going to do is take that one out there. Take that one out there. Take that one out there. And then do the ones on the trailing edge, like so.
I have to say, in a standout model in terms of overall quality, the flaps especially stand out on this model for being just absolutely exceptional.
Right. Well, here we go, because here are the flaps. So we've got, you've got one there, one there, one there. You're going to think to yourself, well, surely those are going to be an absolute nightmare to clean up. Well, I tell you what, no, that's all the cleanup they need. But you're going to say, but I can see they're going to interfere with the fit. Wait a minute. Hold your horses. I'm just going to go in there with my wonderful 400 grit Infinity sander, still the same one I've been using for about the last year. Might actually get around to opening up the rest of them in the pack. But there we go. That's it. That's all I'm going to do with that. Then this is the beauty. You see, just get that and then pop them in place like that. That's it. That's it. For the simple reason that all that is now hidden.
Yeah, like I say, those for me in a stunning model from stem to stern, the flaps stand out, stood out especially to me. There's loads of detail on them. Yeah. They fit better than any P51 flaps I've ever used.
Well, look, they're there. I'm not even going to fix them on the model. I'm going to leave them off. I shall paint them separate and everything. When it comes to the finished model, I'm just going to push them back in. But as I say, when I looked at that and I thought, oh no, we've got sprue attachment points have run straight onto those mating surfaces. Nope, that's it.
Yeah,
absolutely
spectacular, isn't it? Absolutely spectacular.
Yeah,
I can't wait for the KI-84.
Could I interject slightly and show you something new that I'm going to be building away from personal projects?
You carry on. You carry on.
Oh, right. Okay.
All right. Okay.
This is Tamir's latest 48 scale armor kit, as you can see. Desertized Challenger 2. Very specific release, because obviously it's got all of the equipment fits from the war out in the Middle East. I have to say though that it's really very nice. You can see here how this has been.
I didn't even realize it was out. I
don't think it's out yet for sale. Certainly not in the UK. So this is, as you can see the kind of the detail that's in here, and the way that this is created. Tamir have approached this in a way that makes it really easy to build as well. You can see here, this is the lower belly plate, and it includes all of the suspension arms already in place on there, and also the underside of the kind of glacis plate, the nose plate, you can see in there as well. Here you can see the side skirts with all the I guess it's kind of like almost like a kind of a fabric.
It's a rubberized fabric dust skirt
that goes around the wheels. One of the things about this though is that I was looking at this thinking, how easy would this be to convert it into a standard Challenger 2 without all of the desertized bits on it? And the answer to that would be actually remarkably difficult, because Tamir's design of this kit is such that it's designed very much for this particular version. Just allowing you to put the side skirts on would definitely be difficult. You can kind of see here on the inside of these plates how this is designed to be working around the suspension. One of the things that's interesting about this kit is that when you look at it and when you look at the way that it is built, you can see here, if you look at the instructions, that the tracks don't complete. You can see there.
Yeah,
so they only go to this point here. And
which is pretty much the only way that, as far as I ever put tracks on models that have skirts anyway, or track I never bother to run anyway. So
I think what that does is that it actually makes it extremely easy to put together. You can kind of see here that that's like one run, so that's one side of the kit, and then you have that's the other side of the kit. So you have two runners here, which is for the running gear. You have that which forms the basis of the lower hull. That forms the basis of the upper hull and turret. And then those are the details. So it's really straightforward. There's not a lot. I mean,
it's very, very similar in overall breakdown to the Abrams they did a couple of years ago.
Yes, it is.
Really simple, really, but everything you need to build a specific.
Yeah, absolutely. It gives you a figure. You can see the little fella there. This little chap here. So you get a single crew figure. Obviously, it is designed specifically for the desertized version. So I think they only give you a couple of variants within this, but you can kind of see what it looks like there. That's And actually, it looks. I genuinely think that the Challenger 2 looks quite punchy like that, with everything kind of hidden over. If you don't want to build it as this version here with all of the mods for that conflict. There are some photographs of Challenger 2s with this equipment fit, without the SIP panels on the side of the turret, in camouflage.
It's one of those. Quite a lot of this stuff was roll fitted, depending where they were using the vehicles.
Yeah.
So if you look at some of the ones in is it Lithuania or Estonia now, they've got a variety of different kit fittings.
Yeah, absolutely. So you could do this version. I'm not allowed to. I've got to do it as the desertized version. But you can, if you wanted to do something different. You can build this kit from the box pretty much, and you can spray it in camouflage, two-tone green camouflage, rather than sort of green and black that the original sort of British armor was back in the day. Now it's sort of two-tone green. Really lovely little kit, I have to say. Really like it. I think the Challenger 2 is an extraordinarily attractive vehicle, if it's possible for a military vehicle to be attractive. I suppose it has that kind of like malevolent beauty that these weapon systems have. But I'm looking forward to having a look at that. So I thought you'd like to see. You can kind of see how the detail works, and you can see on this little bit here, you can see how that. There's two holes there that lines everything up, so you kind of work back from that and then work around. I'm hoping that, much like the Archer that I completed, that I'll be able to complete runs of track and just take them off, so that I can paint all the track in one go and then block it back in on top of the wheels. I see nothing in this kit that's going to be sort of difficult. The only thing, as with almost every Tamiya armor kit that you build that's got link and length tracks, it does have an annoying degree of kind of ejector pin marks on the inside of the track pads. So you can see that.
Do you know what you do there?
Yeah.
Do you know what you do there?
Yeah.
Cover it in mud.
Yeah. So I think with this case, but I think because of the way, because it's on a smooth, flat surface, you'll probably just be able to sand that off, wet and dry that off. But yeah, looking forward to
talking of Challenger 2s, I got that this week.
How is that? I saw that you posted. Is it nice?
Beautiful. You built the Ryefield models M1A2, didn't you? And you
I did, yeah, and I thought it was great.
Yeah, and no, I got the Puma as well, but no, I mean it's just. Let's again, like you know, it's just absolutely top of the line stuff, isn't it? I mean, I've been looking at the first variant they did, the TES, the Megatron.
Yep.
And looking at trying to get hold of one of those, but thing was, I ended up paying about £37 for this.
Okay.
Which is, you know, it's a 60.
Am I right in thinking that's kind of a vanilla Challenger 2, is it? So that's
this is pretty much a vanilla one. Nothing. It's got none of the upgrade on it, armor on it, or anything. It is pretty much a.
See, but I like that version, don't you? I tend to like battle tanks that don't have all the crap scabbed onto them.
If I'm honest, Spence, there's no version of the Challenger 2 I don't like.
Right.
There's never been a bad looking Challenger 2.
That one in the sand and green camouflage is really nice, isn't it? That's the Battus one.
That Battus one is really. I built the Cromwell Models resin one back in about 2001, and I did it in that scheme before any Challenger 2s were available. In plastic, and I did it in that scheme, and it's a very, very attractive scheme. But I have to say, I'm really quite taken with the idea of just a green one.
Yeah, nice. And that kit includes the modified and lightened wheels, doesn't it? With the lightning holes on them. Does it include both styles of wheels, or just those later ones?
Wait one. It appears to be just the lightened style.
Yeah. Okay.
Just the lighting style, but yeah, it's. I just thought talking of Challenger 2s, I got a. I thought I've actually received quite a few bits of armor in the last few weeks because I suddenly been on a bit of a. I want to build some armor kit.
Yeah.
Sort of kit, and I just need to get around to doing it now. So I got the Meng the Meng Chieftain a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, you bought it in the end?
Oh my word, it's absolutely exquisite.
Is it
So
really
you
good?
went from armor
to
armor.
Yeah, no, the Meng Chieftain. The 5 years they waited, 5-6 years they waited after the Tacom one haven't been wasted. Put it that way.
How much? How? In all honesty, because we spoke about this when we were at Jadlam. How much better is it than Tacom's kit? Is it head and shoulders better, or is it just incrementally better in all areas?
I would say incrementally better, but you know, if you put the two side by side, you can really see the differences. I really like the Tacom kit, having built it. I really like it, and I've actually got the Marksman kit on the way as we speak, which is the one with the anti-aircraft gun turret on it that the Finns bought for their T-55s, as it was, and stuff, which have now been taken off and put onto Leopard 2 hulls. So,
oh really?
Yeah, they retired the T-55 Marksman in 2010, and they sat around in storage for a few years, and then they decided to take the turrets off and put them on spare Leopard 2 hulls. So now you've got a Leopard 2 hull with the Marksman turret on it, which makes it kind of like a super Gepard.
That sounds cool. That was one of those things that I think I've seen a couple of modelers do that. I toyed with the idea of although it was just fanciful nonsense, I toyed with the idea of putting a Sergeant York turret on an M1 chassis. Which I thought looked like would be a really cool vehicle, but didn't get past the idea that the Sergeant York couldn't hit a barn door from 3 feet. I did think that would look cool.
It was laughably bad, wasn't it? But I would really like a new. I really surprised me that Tacom or someone like that haven't done a Sergeant York, because it was, you know, it's very well known, even as much of a failure as it was.
Yeah, and that
very well known.
Kit is just, it doesn't replicate a Sergeant York at all. It's so much is missing.
The Sergeant York may not have been able to hit a barn door, but certainly the Tamir kit certainly was able to hit Drewe's backside with surprising amount of velocity when he sat on his bed and wrecked his model.
Yes.
Yeah. He had
a
bath, went into his bedroom, and kind of did his dying swan thing on the bed, and then as he was just about terminal velocity, remembered there was a model in his bed.
Didn't end well for me or the Sergeant York.
Yeah. I mean, it is one of those weapons. I still think though that the Sergeant York looks way cool. It's a great looking.
Oh, it's a great looking, yeah.
Machine,
Without a doubt, it's a great looking machine. You know, I love all of those twin cannon. You know, the Gepard and the Marksman, and you know the Tunguska and all. I think they all look like exceedingly mean. You really wouldn't want to be on the wrong end of one of those. So I mean, I've got the Tacom Gepard as well. I want the main one. And I again, it's just finding time for all these things. But I really,
it's true. And I think we've spoke about this. I mean, in terms of modern vehicles, the Bradley is my all-time favorite modern-ish vehicle. Not the later 1A2s I'm talking about a vanilla, you know.
We're of a mind on this, aren't we? We both like 105 Abrams. We like the M1 stroke IPM one. We like the originals. In fact, I found a Jeep this week, and I've got a Panda M1 IP en route to me as we speak, because I really want to do it. And I've got a bunch of the Tamiya ones, because I gave you one, didn't I?
You did, yeah. I mean, which is up in the loft and is like 80% built and has had all the detail put on it and everything. I still think that head and shoulders, the 105 M1 is the best looking of the family by a million miles.
I mean, I'm the same with the chat. I like the original, the early Challengers, the late Chieftains through to the early Challengers. I really like. I'd really like either Royfield model or Tacom or somebody like that should really revisit the Challenger one. I think.
I mean, I'd love to build I'd love to build an M60, an A3, an M60 A3, one of those from the Reforger era M60s. But I'm so put off by the kits that are available of it, because they're like a billion parts, and I keep looking at them going, yeah, I'd love to build that. I don't really want to spend 100 hours gluing it together before I get to the paint.
Build the Tamiya one.
Well, yeah, absolutely.
Build the Tamiya M60A3. See, Pavel set there saying that Panda M1 IP isn't good at all. It was cheap, so I thought I'd take a punt on it. But worst comes to the worst, I'll build it. The Tamiya M1 still builds okay, so I'll sort of bang one of those out at some point. But I definitely think that sort of period from sort of 1977 to 1986 needs to be revisited in model form.
I agree. Yeah, I absolutely agree. And I think that would be ripe for TACOM. TACOM could approach doing a Bradley, an original Bradley when it first came out, an M1, a 105 M1. They would have so much fun with that. An M60, something simple that was approached in the way that TACOM approached their armor, because they've kind of gone around doing other things, British armor and those kind of things, the Gepard and that. The one thing that I think is genuinely missing, though, Drew, from all of that period, because we do have kits available from that sort of early to mid 70s up to early to mid 80s period, is we need figures to go with them. We need figure sets. I mean, you can buy figure sets but you try buying British armor crew for the chieftains that are out at the moment from that period. Impossible. You can get resin ones, but you can't get plastic ones. And I genuinely think there's a massive hole in the market for Cold War era crew figure sets for those vehicles.
But you even look at stuff like the Leopard 2 A1, A2, A3. They need they could do with revisiting. As could the Marder. They could do a revisiting as well in kit form. But that sort of early sort of 80s period is ripe for picking.
And let's not ignore the fact that the Leopard 2, the vanilla Leopard 2, is a phenomenal looking vehicle as well.
Yes,
it's just great looking vehicle as well. I think I wrote about this, although I've not published it yet, actually, but I have written about this as an extended blog entry. I wrote it probably almost 3 or 4 weeks ago now, and I've still got it on my desktop. How it is that for people like us, our age group, when you see aircraft from the sort of mid 70s up to the sort of mid 80s, when you see armor from the mid 70s to the mid 80s, my imagination is captivated completely by that time period. I still love seeing, US Air Force F4 Phantoms in Vietnam era camouflage from that period. Still love A10s in charcoal grey. In the charcoal scheme, European one schemes. I still love RAF aircraft in wraparound with red and blue roundels. I still love to see, when the Challenger 1 came out, when the Bradley came out, when the M1 came out, that sort of period. And Reforger, I talk about sort of things that I really get my imagination going. The Reforger exercises from that period. I bought a load of those Tanker Grad books. I think there's a series of 3 or 4 on Reforge. I think it's 4 actually. 3 are on the American part of it, and I think there's 1 on the German part of it. I think I've got 4 of them. And you look at the vehicles from back then; they're just amazing. When they started bringing them in, and they transitioned from the M60s into the M1s. They transitioned from M1.
And of course, you end up thinking. I mean, every time the whole time we're talking about this, all I'm thinking about is just a host of the Linden dioramas.
Exactly right.
All of those, M113s, M1s, M60s, Leopard 2s. He did dioramas of all of this stuff.
Yeah.
M163s with the Vulcan cannon on it and all this.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Just
I mean, there's a great looking machine as well. Yeah. And And again, it comes down to things like M113s. You know, I really like the M113, but I'm slightly put off by the complexity of some of the kits offer M113s. AFE Club, I think, do an M113, but I read horror stories about how complex they are. And I don't know whether it's just I'm not being. It's not a laziness thing for me, but I think I've got to that age where I'm thinking, do I want to spend, you know, 2-3 weeks putting a model together and then another 2-3 weeks painting it when I can?
Yeah, I mean, we reached that stage. I don't know about you, but I look for, you know, a reasonably simple build. You know,
Yeah, I think that's what it is.
And
yeah.
I think that, you know, quite often for many years, when a new kit was released, immediately you get sort of a massive slew of aftermarket for it, which tells you everything that's wrong with the kit and everything it needs upgrading.
Yeah,
and it's easy to get dragged into that. And quite often, I think if I sit back and ignore that for the next 3 years and then pick that kit up, and I kind of forget all the aftermarket that's available, I'm going to be perfectly happy with what I produce from that model.
yes, indeed. Yes, yeah,
You know,
it's kind of weird.
it's like you kind of the initial flush of all the aftermarket makes you think the kit's not good enough, and then 3 years later you think, no, the kit's perfectly good enough. And a perfect example of that is, if you remember, the absolute there's tons and tons of aftermarket that came out for the Tamiya Heinkel 219 when it was released. And now I think I just want to get that kit and slam it together and finish it.
Yeah.
You know, I'll be quite happy because it's still going to look glorious.
Yes, of course, yeah, it is, and it is an odd kind of thing. But I think at some point I'd like to do some of those vehicles from back in the day. And I know an M60A3. I know there's some great kits out there. I also have a slight, you know, a slight inclination to do a Blazer as well with all the add-on armor and that kind of thing. But like you say, I'm surrounded at the moment. I'm surrounded by Sabers. I'm surrounded by, you know, I've got the Challenger to do. I've got a little Tiger One to do. I've got some dioramas to do. I've actually got a Jackal, a 35th Jackal to do as well, which is the Hobby Boss kit, which is an enormous. I mean, it's not a huge vehicle, but it's an enormous box of parts, and it's got etch in there. I've been seeing. You know, that's like a 300 part kit model for something that's, you know, pretty tiny.
I can tell you a story today. Is that on my way to the Gloucester and Warwickshire Steam Railway today, just coming off Junction 9 on the M5, went past MOD Ashchurch.
Oh right, yeah.
You know it?
Yeah, I do know it.
Yeah, it's the central kind of like logistics thing in this country for soft-skin military vehicles.
Yep.
And I was driving along. I'm just driving along, and I'm kind of like, oh, warriors, just like loads of warriors. You see?
Yeah.
And I'm like, eyes on the road, and then going on the next bit, and then banked up right by the fence were all the bridge laying sections from. They were either Churchills, they're either chieftains or centurions. But they're all the bridge layers, and they're all in dark green. They're in sand. They're in sand and dark brown, sand and dark green. And it was just, I wish I'd stopped on the way back to take a photograph of it all, because it was glorious.
It's quite an impressive place, isn't it? You see, and they had also when I drove past there a few years ago, they had all in the compound by the side of the road. They had a whole bunch of MRAPs. And those things are massive.
Oh yeah, they're enormous. Yeah.
They are absolutely huge vehicles.
Yeah.
Driving down the motorway, going down to Portsmouth a couple of weeks ago to drop that Lancaster off, go down motorway, and I thought, oh, that's an interesting load on the back of that low loader. It was a longbow on the back of the low
really?
loader. Yeah, rotors had been taken off, but everything else was on there, and then there was another one behind it, and then another one behind it. And I thought, oh, that's massive. That's just majestic.
They're just shipping them all out to be upgraded at the moment. So
yeah, I mean, because that's a big machine as well, isn't it? You see a longbow.
Yeah, it's over 50 feet long. People, you know, the Apache is a big helicopter.
They are huge.
Jeff Baker, they're saying, did I want the TES boxing? Jeff, yeah, it is on the list of stuff that I do want in due course. But it's finding time to build all this stuff. you know, I mean, I've long since established that I'm going to be buying at a far higher rate than I'm ever going to build. But
Really?
oh yeah, absolutely.
You surprised me.
Doesn't stop you wanting it, but
No,
yeah,
exactly.
it is on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think the early 80s is ripe, late 70s, early 80s is ripe for plucking by a manufacturer at the moment, isn't it?
Yeah, I think
I
genuinely think so. Yeah,
we are unfortunately going to have to wrap up now. But I'm just going to just to finish on some, or to semi-finish on some actual modelling content here.
We've been doing the last 20 minutes. Then we've been talking exclusively modelling.
No, I meant some actual practical modelling demonstration. Then I was checking to see why that fin doesn't work vertically on the fuselage, and came to the conclusion. In the end, you do just need to drill out these two holes here a bit more, because they're a little bit too narrow and they just impede those locating pins. As soon as you do that, as soon as you do that, it just drops in like that. It's perfect.
There you go.
The other thing is, I would seriously recommend, when you're putting the breather gills in on the nose, do that while the fuselage halves are still in halves. Because if you do it at this stage and you manage to get one of them to drop in there, you are going to be doing that for ages trying to get. Luckily, I didn't do that tonight, but I can see the potential for these to actually drop into the fuselage. So probably best to fit these when you're actually kind of when the fuselage is still in two halves. But other than that, this evening I've put that intake on, that one there, a little bit of blending with some Mr. Surface is going to be needed. We've got the tailplane on, so we'll do the fin rudder once I've sorted out the mystery gap. And I've just been, whilst you two were chatting, I've just been sorting stuff out that isn't needed for this build. So that goes into the spares box. So quite literally, figurative and literally, we are down to just the those bits on that sprue there. So there's not much on there. Undercarriage, prop, and just some details on this one. I think it's an aerial and the sway braces, and that's it. So
I still can't work out why that fuselage dips the way that it does. That's
honestly, I have not done anything, and I'm going to go back through the photographs, but I have not. Nope, I can't think what that is there. It's bizarre.
Jeff, that's very kind of you, but I sense that if you sent me a Challenger TES, it would sit as long in my stash as it has in yours, and I don't like to disappoint people by accepting their kind gifts and then going, oh yeah, it's just sat in my stash for 17 years or whatever. But the offer is deeply appreciated.
Right. Any other business?
No, I'm on late this week, so theoretically, it depends if I go back to work. I'm going to have to talk to work tomorrow, because as you can probably hear, I'm still suboptimal.
Suboptimal.
And I'll be watching the Liverpool Villarreal game, so I'm
right. In that case, then, folks, policy decision is we'll probably have a break this Wednesday. And then we'll be back fighting fit on Sunday, because we'll be fighting fit on Sunday for the Armour April conclusion, because we'll be in May on Sunday. So everybody get a wiggle on to finish your Armour models off. And then that's it. Then we'll be straight into Matchbox May. So
oh dear.
Exactly. Just some catch up here. Here we go. Just some catch up, and that is, that lovely. That was the Odette Tea Room in Wellington. Right, never been to Wellington before. Instantly, I made landfall and instantly discovered a tea room, which was the Odette Tea Room. Thought, well, that's odd, naming a tea room after a famous special operations executive operative in World War II. Turns out it's actually run by a family.
Wow!
So
there you go.
Fascinating, absolutely fascinating. So that was yesterday. That was Friday. That was a lovely cream tea I had on my birthday in Minehead, which was at
happy belated birthday, by the way.
Thank you.
Many.
The Toucan health food shop and cafe at the top of the high street, and then today at the Gloucester Railway, I had a nice nice slice of Victoria sponge and a cup of tea. So,
oh, I love Victoria sponge. It's an underrated genius.
Very nice, very nice indeed. But no, the Odette's tea room, we'll have to have a trip there at some stage, Drew, because I mean, you can see there that they served everything on bone china plates and tea.
That's a nice slice of cake.
Well, not only that, but the you know, just the cake forks. Look at the cake forks.
Yeah, very nice.
Yeah,
very nice.
So back to work tomorrow, but I've had a fun 3 days off.
We like cake.
Stuffing my face with cake.
We like cake.
We do like cake actually. So but yeah, it's been fun. So yeah, back to work. Hey ho. So yeah, we won't be here on Wednesday. We'll give you good people a rest for good behaviour, and but we will be back on Sunday for the Armour April conclusion, and also featuring your efforts, your splendid efforts. So we'll be putting them up on like a gallery. So that's it, really. I think that's pretty much it for tonight. Really,
super job.
Yeah,
and absolutely. For April.
Yeah, sorry.
And for April.
Well, yeah, I suppose. The last show for April, so we'll see you lot in May. I have to go and get changed now. So,
good Lord.
Dearie me, you guys, really, you guys. It's nice to have you here tonight, Spence. You weren't going to come along because you were still celebrating Liverpool's magnificent victory over some pub team on the Mersey. So they're a pub team, though, aren't they, Everton? They really are. Just shocking.
Good old Richarlison.
There's a reason why they're down there. It's because they're awful.
They are shockingly bad.
They are shockingly bad. Anyway, on that note, we just lost all our Everton fans, but never mind. On that note, just to say thank you to Drew for getting off his sick bed and joining us this evening, and thank you to Spencer for turning up unexpectedly, most unexpectedly. So on that note, we will be back next Sunday. So until then, as always, stay safe, stay out of trouble.
Stay safe.
And we'll see you then.